What is up, everyone, and welcome back to the only channel tracking evolution's most urgent cleanup crew. This is the Darwin Awards, the annual celebration of brilliant minds who decided, nah, I'll take the express lane out of the gene pool. Today, we've compiled 15 unbelievable true stories of people who chose the dumbest possible way to go. We're talking about the genius who used dynamite for yard work, the mechanic who inflated a tire with explosive gas, the poor soul who fought a car wash and lost, and the guy who confused a boiling hot spring for a hot tub. If you're shocked by the sheer lack of common sense on display, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to join the weekly tribute to human failure. And before we start, tell me in the comments, which is dumber, trying to lift a vending machine for a coin or taking a nap inside a cement mixer? Let's get the show on the road. Number 1. We kick off this week's segment with a gentleman who apparently thought he was starring in a low-budget, highly flammable action movie. This fella, let's call him Boomer Bob, had a problem that plagues homeowners across the nation: tree stumps. Now, most people deal with stumps using stump grinder rental, or maybe a lot of salt, or perhaps they just accept that nature is slow. But Bob? Bob decided to skip the gardening section entirely and head straight for the high explosives. He had a few dynamite sticks, an unhealthy dose of confidence, and a very poor understanding of material science. His master plan was to stuff the dynamite deep into the dry, rotting wood of the stump, light the fuse, and boom! Instant clear land. He knew he needed enough charge, but here's where he became a legend. He dramatically miscalculated the required payload. Instead of using just enough to loosen the stump, he rigged it up like he was trying to sever the continent of North America. When that dynamite finally detonated, it didn't just remove the stump, it transformed that hunk of wood into a barrage of high-velocity, lethal shrapnel. Boomer Bob, who presumably stood a little too close to admire his handiwork, was immediately struck by the flying debris. I mean, how do you spend time setting up an explosive charge and then forget the most basic law of explosives? Shrapnel goes everywhere? You create a miniature battlefield, and then you stand in the middle of it. It's the ultimate Darwinian contradiction. An attempt to improve his property ended with him being definitively removed from it. He traded a few annoying old stumps for his spot in the gene pool. A true martyr to over-engineering a simple garden chore. Someone needs to put a sign on his property that says, "Here lies Bob, who thought a $50 stump grinder was too expensive, but the cost of dynamite and his life was perfectly reasonable." Number 2. Next, we head into the world of truly cheap, low-budget stupidity. Our next nominee was attempting to mix up a Molotov cocktail. Maybe he was preparing for a protest, or maybe he just had a very aggressive neighborhood watch. But whatever his ambition, his execution was lacking. The traditional Molotov cocktail, for those of you who did not attend Explosives 101, involves a glass bottle, fuel, and a wick. Our guy decided to improvise. He chose a plastic soda bottle. And he chose a blend of highly volatile liquids that were definitely not meant to be shaken or stirred. He poured his lethal liquid creation into this cheap, flexible plastic container, sealing it up tight. Now, what happens when you trap highly pressurized, vaporizing, volatile chemicals inside a thin plastic bottle that has zero ability to handle pressure or heat? The bottle decides it's quitting the job early. The internal pressure and the sheer instability of his amateur brew caused a premature, violent explosion right there in his hands. Before he could even light the fuse, he didn't just get killed by his own attempt at an explosive weapon, he got killed by the worst possible choice of container. It's the equivalent of putting jet fuel in a paper bag. He was undone by a 5-cent piece of polyethylene terephthalate. The Molotov, still unlit, decided that he was the target. If you're going to be a villain, at least invest in a proper glass bottle. This is a fantastic example of terminal penny pinching. Our man proves that you can't cheat chemistry, and chemistry will always, always win. Number 3, from makeshift bombers to incompetent campers. This next story is a classic, a tale as old as time, or at least as old as the invention of the gasoline engine. Our protagonist was enjoying a chilly evening camping, but his campfire was dying. The wood was damp, the embers were weak, and he simply did not have the energy to gather proper kindling and nurse the flame back to life. He needed a quick fix. His quick fix involved grabbing a large, heavy can of gasoline and pouring it directly onto the embers. This is where we pause for a collective groan. Every single person watching this channel knows what happens next. When you pour gasoline, the vapor ignites first, creating a brilliant high-speed flash that travels back up the vapor stream and into the fuel source. The resulting flashback was immediate and violent, turning his entire campsite into a spontaneous bonfire. The flame raced up the stream of liquid, hitting the large can he was still holding. He didn't just catch fire, he was engulfed. The sheer irony is that he was burned to death because he was too lazy to blow on the coals. This isn't a tragic accident, it's a lethal lack of effort. He used an explosive accelerant to solve a problem that required only patience and basic kindling. We lost a man who fundamentally misunderstood fire, heat, and the concept of flammable. He achieved his goal, technically. The fire was definitely restarted. It just took him out of the gene pool in the process. Another classic for the books. Number 4. Next, we journey into the heart of predator stupidity. Our nominee decided it would be a fantastic idea to capture a wild rattlesnake. Why? Because reasons. Maybe he wanted a new pet. Maybe he needed a terrifying garden gnome. We don't know. He tracked down the venomous viper and decided his weapon of choice for this highly dangerous operation would be a simple glass jar. His technique was to pin the snake down with the jar and quickly secure it. If you've ever handled a snake, or even a very fast kitten, you know that pinning them with a wide jar is harder than it looks. The rattlesnake, being a rattlesnake, saw this slow, clumsy attempt as a perfect opportunity for self-defense. The capture attempt failed miserably. The snake was faster, the man was clumsy, and the rattler delivered a potent, justified dose of neurotoxic justice. He was bitten, and despite the fact that anti-venom and emergency services exist, he succumbed to the poison. He died because he underestimated a cold-blooded predator and overestimated the effectiveness of a pickle jar as a containment device. The rattlesnake, by the way, slithered off, winning the day and contributing 0 genes to the Darwin Awards. This is a beautiful example of nature saying, "Don't mess with me or I'll solve your evolutionary problem for you." He was determined to make a dangerous animal his plaything, and the animal simply pointed out the obvious flaw in that plan. Number 5. This is the story of a man who got into a heated argument with a car wash attendant over a minor scratch. Most people might demand a refund, file a complaint, or perhaps yell a lot. But our champion, fueled by rage over a tiny scrape on his paint job, decided to escalate the conflict to an industrial scale. He decided the most effective way to register his displeasure was to stop the entire car wash mechanism with his body. He literally walked right into the automated bay and threw himself against the massive, water-spewing, brush-spinning machinery. Industrial car washes are not built to be stopped by human temper tantrums. They are built to clean cars. The machine, unimpressed by his rage, simply continued its cycle. It didn't pause for his protest. It did its job. Our angry customer was crushed and dragged by the massive spinning brushes and rollers. He died because he thought he could win an argument against a piece of heavy automated equipment. He turned a minor customer service dispute into a terminal, high-pressure tragedy. He allowed his fury over a scratch to literally remove his existence. That, friends, is the definition of zero situational awareness and ultimate Darwinian rage. Number 6. Our next contender in this round, let's call him Quarters Carson, hails from the hallowed halls of somewhere with a vending machine. Carson had the most relatable problem in human history. The machine ate his dollar. We've all been there. You punch in C4, the motor whirs, and then nothing. Maybe you kick the machine gently, maybe you shake it a little. But Carson saw a challenge. He saw that 400-pound industrial steel box and decided he was going to lift it up to retrieve his 75 cents worth of stale chips. He didn't just tip it, he attempted a deadlift on a machine designed to be immovable. And the machine naturally decided to teach him a brutal lesson in physics and gravity. The vending machine fell directly onto Carson, crushing him and securing his eternal absence from the gene pool. All over a single, small, circular piece of currency. Think about the final thoughts here. I'm dying, and I still don't have my sun chips. This is the ultimate fight between man and machine, and the machine won decisively. Carson proved that the true cost of cheapness isn't money, it's your entire life. I hope those chips were absolutely delicious wherever he is. Number 7. Next up, we have a mechanic who redefined the term working under pressure. This guy was tasked with inflating a large industrial tire, the kind you'd see on a tractor or heavy construction equipment. Now, tires require air, or sometimes nitrogen, safe, non-explosive gases. But apparently, our mechanic, let's call him Ignition Icarus, was fresh out of air. Or maybe he was trying to save a few pennies on the compressor. Whatever the reason, he decided to use a flammable gas to inflate the tire. I want you to think about that. He filled a huge rubber vessel with highly volatile explosive fuel, knowing that friction, heat, and any stray spark, like say a wire rubbing, would be catastrophic. What kind of logic is that? I want this tire to be round and potentially deadly. The inevitable happened. The gas found an ignition source, maybe static, maybe a faulty wire, maybe just the immense heat generated by his stupidity, and the tire exploded. The force of the detonation was catastrophic, instantly and permanently removing Ignition Icarus from the maintenance crew roster. He didn't just fail to inflate the tire. He turned it into a giant rubber grenade. He achieved inflation, all right, but the price was his entire future. This is a masterclass in why you should never, ever confuse fuel with function. Number 8. We journey now to the thrilling world of high-rise miscalculations. Our nominee, let's call him Leo the Leaper, was high up on the fire escape of an apartment building. Maybe he was locked out. Maybe he was avoiding someone. Maybe he just really loved fire escapes. Whatever the situation, he needed to get down fast. He looked down and, through a truly spectacular failure of depth perception and information gathering, convinced himself he saw a safety net set up below. A safety net on a public street for no discernible reason. He didn't stop to ask, why would there be a net there? He didn't check to see if it was, perhaps, just a large shadow or a pile of dark garbage bags. His brain, having already committed to the idea of a soft landing, completely overruled his eyes. He took the leap of faith, a fatal, completely unsupported leap of faith. The safety net, of course, was purely a figment of his imagination. He landed with the same softness one would expect when hitting concrete from several stories up. This man died because his brain wanted a safety net so badly that it simply invented one. It's the ultimate example of wishful thinking leading to terminal disappointment. Leo the Leper earned his award by substituting objective reality for convenient fiction. Number 9. This is a story that proves irony is often the most dangerous thing on the highway. Our nominee was driving down a busy, high-speed highway when he spotted something fascinating: roadkill. Now, most people just keep driving, perhaps offering a moment of silence for the unfortunate badger. But this guy, let's call him Curious Carl, was possessed by an overwhelming urge to examine the carcass up close. He needed to know exactly what kind of animal met its end. He pulled his car to the side of the road, exited his vehicle, and then, completely forgetting he was standing next to a lane of traffic moving at 70 miles per hour, he stepped directly into the active lane of the highway without looking. Curious Carl was struck instantly, becoming himself the very thing he was attempting to examine. He was added to the inventory of highway fatalities while investigating the fatal inventory of the highway. The sheer brutal irony is stunning. He died because he was too engrossed in the death of a nameless animal to pay attention to the high-speed machinery designed to keep humans safe. He passed the Darwin test by proving he had less situational awareness than the dead animal he was inspecting. Number 10. Our next act of genius in this segment is a profound statement on friendship and physics. This is Houdini Harry, a man who loved stunts, and his equally misguided friend, Torch Terry. Harry's big idea was to wrap thick metal chains around his body, tightly, mind you, and have Terry cut them off using an industrial acetylene torch. The premise was simple. The chains are strong, but the torch is stronger. And Harry would emerge unscathed, right? Harry, however, believed the thick chain would magically absorb all the heat from the torch, acting as some kind of heat shield. He failed to remember that metal conducts heat extremely well, and the chain, when heated to hundreds of degrees, is basically a flaming steel hug. When Terry applied the torch, the chain didn't just snap magically, it glowed white hot, instantaneously transferring that blistering heat directly into Harry's body. The chains were unbreakable, all right? They stayed perfectly intact as they inflicted terminal, fiery burns. Harry died because he fundamentally misunderstood the transfer of thermal energy. He put his life in the hands of a friend and a highly scientific tool, demonstrating that trust is a liability when paired with a complete lack of basic scientific knowledge. Number 11. Next, a man who truly understood the importance of interior decor, specifically the need for a giant antique bear trap as a novelty display. Because nothing says welcome home like a piece of gear designed to break the bones of a grizzly. Our nominee was trying to set up this rusty, intimidating device, possibly in his man cave, which immediately suggests questionable judgment. He was carefully adjusting the trigger mechanism, but naturally, he forgot the most important rule of handling historical instruments of destruction. They still work. He accidentally triggered the mechanism on himself. Now, an antique bear trap isn't designed for a quick kill, it's designed to incapacitate a 1,000-pound animal. The resulting injuries were catastrophic, immediately and definitively ending his career as a novelty collector. He was undone by his own decor. I mean, you can see the headlines. Local man killed by his own vibe. He died proving the absolute lethal effectiveness of a tool that hasn't been necessary for hunting since the early 1900s. He earned his award for making a very strong case against historical curiosity. Number 12. Next up, we have a profound statement on the priorities of the modern age. The construction crane selfie. This young man scaled a massive industrial crane, hundreds of feet in the air, all for that perfect, viral, high-altitude photo. Forget safety harnesses. Forget structural engineering. His only concern was maximum clicks. He reached a precarious, exposed beam at the very top, where the winds are whipping and the footing is treacherous. He held up his phone, positioned himself against a spectacular backdrop, and, well, we know how this ends. He lost his footing. He died because he valued a fleeting moment of social media validation more than his own entire existence. This isn't climbing. This is just a self-eject button disguised as a steel frame. He wanted to go viral, and in a morbid Darwinian sense, he absolutely did. This is a tragic, yet perfect metaphor for the digital age. He was literally killed by his own feed. Number 13. We head to the icy plains now for a tale of toxic masculinity and gravity. Our nominee was a snowmobiler, revving his engine with a group of friends near a canyon. And as all great Darwin stories begin, someone issued a dare. The challenge to jump the canyon. Now, canyons are famous for being wide, deep, and generally unjumpable by consumer-grade recreational vehicles. His friends, bless their slightly more rational hearts, all wisely said, "Nah, man, that's insane." But our snowmobile champion felt his reputation was at stake. He had to be the committer. He gunned his engine, raced toward the edge, and took the leap. Unsurprisingly, the snowmobile did not possess the required thrust or hang time. He didn't just fail, he fell spectacularly short, becoming a high-speed casualty of elementary physics. He essentially committed suicide by snowmobile, all because his friends knew the difference between insane and impossible. He proved that peer pressure is lethal when the peer in question is a moron. Number 14. This story is a cruel reminder that you should never take workplace naps, especially not in industrial machinery. Our nominee was a construction worker who was utterly exhausted. Seeking a private, quiet place for a quick power nap, he chose the only logical spot. Inside a large industrial cement mixer. He curled up among the residual dust and metal paddles, confident in his choice of an impromptu cradle. Later, a colleague, unaware there was a sleeping human nestled inside, came along, flipped the switch, and started the machine to mix a fresh batch of concrete Our snoozing friend was definitively and permanently mixed into the schedule. He died not from working too hard, but from choosing the most dangerous bedroom in the world. He turned a piece of heavy equipment into a very permanent, very fast tumbler. His colleague likely just thought the mixer was having a noisy, uneven startup. This is a tragic tale of misplaced trust and solitude and the fatal consequences of industrial napping. Number 15. Next, we arrive at a beautiful national park, famous for its geothermal hot springs. These are not hot tubs, folks. These are cauldrons of near boiling, chemically charged water bubbling up from the earth. The Parks Department puts up big, obvious signs. Danger, extreme temperatures, do not enter. Our nominee, a tourist, looked at the steam, looked at the signs, and thought, but what if I just take a little dip? It looks so relaxing. Ignoring every single warning, he waded into the high temperature water. The result was immediate and horrific: fatal scalding. He died because he treated a geological phenomenon like a public swimming pool. He substituted his brief, desperate desire to feel warm for the wisdom of millions of years of Earth science. He was literally boiled by the planet. This is the universe reminding us that warnings are not meant to be read as dares. And that's the end of our tribute, folks. 15 spectacular, self-administered exits from the human gene pool. We witnessed the full spectrum of terminal idiocy. From the lumberjack who used dynamite on stumps, to the tourist who tried to use a boiling hot spring as a spa, and the man who was crushed by a vending machine over a coin. They all made their final, unforgettable contribution. They are the ultimate proof that you can't fix ignorance with a simple warning sign. Let us know in the comments below. Which of these 15 acts of pure genius, from the car wash fighter to the exploding tire mechanic, made you shake your head the hardest? If you enjoy this celebration of evolutionary irony, make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on. Stay safe out there. Think before you leap. Always respect the bear trap. And for the love of life, buy the correct size tire pump. See you next time.